Hey everybody, making this video and I'm calling it Naming Your Path. So obviously I haven't been making videos for quite a while. I've actually been taking the time to get involved in painting and doing some other creative and artistic endeavors for a little while here. But I have been having a discussion with someone online and kind of a debate over the term Wiccan, which I'm guessing some people would be surprised that I would really have any interest in that term at all. I don't go around putting myself out there. I don't go around putting myself out there as a Wiccan. Um, and basically, I feel like there's a difference in how people are classifying paths, how people are classifying religions. And for me, I like to get away from this old school classification of your religion is the group of people that you are a member of, or the idea that your religion is a set of beliefs which are unchanging. For me, I was raised as a Christian as a child, but started having paranormal experiences at a very young age. And when I was 10, I kind of wanted to invent my own religion where, the entire earth would be like a particle in the body of God or something. And, it wasn't until, well, I'd say in fourth grade, I met a kid who was part of a pagan family. His mother was Wiccan. And then in junior high, I started getting interested in it, but I'd flip back and forth between, half the year I'd be studying Wiccan pagan stuff. The other half of the year, I'd be studying more Taoism, Buddhism, Tai Chi, yoga, that sort of stuff. And started dabbling in ceremonial magic a little bit at that age, but eventually, I met a Wiccan coven that was local. I also found a group of people that were trying to start a Golden Dawn Lodge with, one of them was an old adept who was a pretty cool guy. And I also met a Carillion elder who kind of took me under his wing. And the next few years of my life were really cool. It was many, many different kinds of awakening happening, all overlapping and just compounding into one another. And, I was fortunate to have a local occult shop with proprietors who had a pretty deep interest and training in yoga, of all things. And I have a deep love of yoga, not just the stretching, but the meditative methods and just the philosophy and the knowledge. And I feel that what we're all looking for when we partake in deep spiritual paths, what we look for when we talk about a word like initiation, what we're talking about when we're talking about magic or mystery schools. We're talking about a knowledge. We're talking about transcendent experience that is continuous through your day-to-day life and an interaction with the fundamental creative forces of the universe. And there are so many different ways to come to it. And I feel like the traditional way of looking at things is very much, it's a result of the fact that humans have been kind of isolated from each other socially and intellectually for so long that the group of people you knew was really the definition of what you were able to learn about the world. And in the last 3 decades, 4 decades, even before the internet, just with mass market publication, even before that really, but the 80s, 60s, all these different eras where we've seen explosions of cross-cultural knowledge. And for me, Wicca, it was kind of like, if I were to compare it to, say, martial arts, doing the Wiccan thing was like getting your black belt in karate or something. It was like, being brought into the third degree, which I have my own philosophy on what those things mean, why they mean them, and whether or not it matters at all who or what recognizes you. But Being brought into it is like being brought into the world where magic is real and where the living force of the universe is part of your daily waking experience. It doesn't mean you know everything. It doesn't mean that you're the brightest star in the world. You're just one more extension of the brightest star, which is where we all find the root of our being. So it's really just an awakening of your conscious awareness and constant conscious participation in the universe. And there are different methodologies for awakening that in the human being. And that's what initiatory traditions are supposed to be about. That's what different self-disciplines are supposed to be for, you know. For me, a lot of kind of offshoot heretical Christian concepts and practices were very important for me. You know, if I had to say, like, roughly, not when was I awarded degrees by what groups, but if I were to take the whole 3-degree thing, which is actually drawn from Freemasonry, because you have the dawn, the noonday sun, and the sunset, the youth, the mature individual, the elder, with the death and rebirth underneath. That's Masonic concept. In Wicca, we have the triple moon concept, the maiden, mother, and crone. In Masonry, it's applied to the male life cycle. So they're two halves of the same whole. They're two expressions of the same knowledge. There are so many different schools of thought that are expressions of something very, very ancient and very, very connected. And as we're in this pan-cultural around the globe, everything available and so many more people and more places to make connections and to speak many different languages and draw tools from many different disciplines, that describing what you are to some people can be very, very difficult. I mean, for me, what am I going to say? I am a Wiccan with some Hermetic Christian tendencies who practices yoga and Tai Chi and talks to angels and spirits and gods. And what is that? Is that a Wiccan? Is that a witch? Is it a wizard? Is it a, what do you say? So when we're talking about these labels and whether or not a particular label is appropriate, I think for me, the key is whether or not the label tells the truth about who and what you are. When you use this label to say that you connect with and share something with these people, is it true? And as the labels evolve and we're trying to keep track of an explosion of intellect and spirituality and knowledge and magic that's happening throughout our culture, are we trying to hold on to old things to prevent them from changing? Or are we going to let the acorn become the oak? And I feel like in the beginning it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to figure out where you stand and what it all means and what label works to call yourself. I'm just a person, personally, regardless of what stamps I could put on it. But sometimes a stamp works for a while, and sometimes multiple stamps work, and sometimes base perspectives are congruent in ways which are unexpected. For me, first degree was like learning to sense energy and basic psychic practices, circle casting, sabbats and esbats, meditation, and tarot. Definitely tarot. Second degree for me was discipline of ceremonial magic that I undertook for a little over a year. I'd say a year and a day, fair enough, of daily 2 times a day on a bad day, 6 times a day on a good day, where I was doing the full regimen of ritual, discipline, and study. And it was intense. It was very intense. I was about 20 years old at the time. And I had had some genuinely transcendent experiences, and that was what started to really integrate it all into my day-to-day living before I met one of my more important teachers. And there have been many teachers through my life. But the whole year of Christ consciousness being the goal, and the study of the Kabbalah and the holy names and that whole branch of magic, and seeing how that tied into all of the more ancient forms of magic. And uh, I love it. It's never ending. I feel like there's this huge thing that we are all a part of, and it doesn't have its own name because it is so multifaceted. So all we can really talk about is what we're choosing to do with it at any given time. Then again, that doesn't really fit too well with a classical definition of a religion. Are we even talking about religion anymore? I don't know. What do you think?